Welcome to the Let's Get Vulnerable podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Morgan. I'm so happy that you're here. This is a powerful episode today. We are talking about conflict. Okay. This is something that no one is taught. We actually get taught really, really harmful messages about conflict instead of the truth that it's normal. It's part of every single relationship. And if we do it well, it can actually make us closer. It can help us build really, really close, secure relationships if we can do it well. And I want to talk about what does that even look like? I see so much advice out there, and my goal is to make this so simple and clear that you could actually implement it in the moment. Because it's one thing to have a bunch of ideas in your head, right? Or you've got all those Instagram posts that are saved on your phone, or you've listened to different podcasts. Maybe you've got notes in your journal about how to have healthy conflict, and you know all of this in your brain, right? But then the next time you're in a heated argument, all of that goes out the window, right? You're not recalling academic research when you are in the midst of having a total meltdown or spiral, or your blood is boiling and you're angry. You're not going to remember, what was that post that I read and with the perfect script. So I just want to give you tangible things that you can actually apply. This is what I wish I had known about conflict many, many years ago. And let me tell you, I think the longer you are in a relationship, my husband and I will be going on 5 years. This is the longest relationship I've ever been in, 5 years. And the longer that you're in a relationship, the more you realize just how important healthy conflict is. It's going to come up. It's part of growing. We are not the same people that we were a year ago, right? We grow, we change, our desires change, our needs change. And then you have two people who are growing. And of course, conflict is going to come up. And I always want to reframe this that conflict means you're close. If you have things that you disagree on, if you are having tough conversations, that means you're being honest. That means that there's intimacy in the relationship, that I know how you're really feeling, or that you know how your partner is really truly feeling. When I was predominantly working with couples in private practice, in La Jolla back in the day, um, I was very worried about the couples who hadn't had an argument. They'd come and say, "We haven't fought in 5 years," or I remember one couple, "We haven't fought in a decade." And you would think like, "Oh, that's so great." No, it means that they have shut down. It means that there's distance. It means that the resentment got so big that you've lost the will to even engage in conflict. So there's so much here that we're going to get into that's going to be helpful, whether you're in a relationship or you're dating and you know that in your next relationship, you need to do conflict differently. This episode is going to help you. I can't wait to get into it. Years ago, when I had a disorganized attachment style, when I had low self-worth, when I was people pleasing, and I was so, so afraid of being abandoned, conflict meant panic. My nervous system thought that every disagreement was the end of the relationship, right? I was so, so terrified that instead of bringing things up, or instead of having calm conversations about what my needs were, where I wasn't happy, I avoided those and I would self abandon until I couldn't any longer. And then everything would build up. And then I would have these major blowout arguments. How many of you have had those? Even as I'm saying this, I'm having flashbacks to that time in my life. And if you have been there, you know how disruptive this is, of course, to the relationship. It's terrible for the relationship, right? Like if the relationship is a glass vase, it's like taking a hammer to the vase. You can shatter the secure attachment in a minute just by what you say and how you show up in an argument. And then you feel like you're on the ground, like trying to build it back together, right? So it's terrible for the relationship. It's also terrible for you. How many of you have been through that where you are so emotionally exhausted and emotionally drained that the conflict impacted your ability to work? It impacted your ability to be a good friend. It impacted your ability to show up for your family, to show up for yourself, right? Maybe it led you into feeling majorly depressed or anxious. I can remember having terrible, terrible arguments and then having to call in sick the next day and literally just pull the covers over my head and not be able to get out of bed because I was just shaking and emotionally exhausted and physically exhausted from the argument from the night before, right? I mean, this is a major issue when you cannot fight well, which if you talk to my husband, he'll tell you I don't like the term fight. I always say we're having a discussion. It's really important for me to rebrand that term fight. It's like, no, we're not fighting. We're having a discussion, which is allowed, right? Um, but it's really important for us to learn how to have conflict bring us closer, how to do it in a healthy way, how to do it in a secure way so that it doesn't totally destroy your relationship. Because, okay, you have one bad argument. All right, you can get over it. Maybe it takes you a few days, takes you a couple weeks, but then everything's back to normal. But then you have another one, and then another one. And pretty soon, even the best people can get to a point where the relationship can't be repaired. Repair is no longer possible. You know, you've shattered that vase so many times, you can't see how the pieces go back together, right? So it's really important that we learn healthy conflict and we think about healthy conflict proactively, not when you're in the midst of the argument, before you even get in the relationship, ideally, right? When you're single. So those of you who are single listening to this, good job. You're going to think about, how do I have securely attached conflict and how can I do my very best to show up as secure as possible, right? So that I know that I'm doing my part to protect the secure attachment in the relationship. All right. So here's what we know. The Gottmans have done a ton of research on this. We know that when couples are securely attached and it's a healthy relationship, it's not that they don't fight, it's that they repair quickly. And it's actually really, really interesting that the research showed that couples who had more repair attempts, where there was a higher number of repair attempts, meaning that, after a conflict or an argument, you have it's happening more quickly, more frequently, that there's that initiation for repair. Okay. So repair attempts, that predicts success, AKA it was measured by not getting divorced by the Gottmans, but it predicts success even more than compatibility, even more than values alignment or anything else. The desire to repair predicts marriage success more than compatibility. Isn't that fascinating? I think so. So it's not, oh, we never fight or, you know, we never have conflict. It's how fast can you repair and do you repair well? Secure love, once again, we have to get this in our heads. It is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of repair. And I would say this, it is conflict that is open, honest, and direct but not harmful to the relationship itself. Okay. So let's talk about the attachment styles in conflict. I know a lot of you want to talk about this. My audience, you all love when we go into the attachment style deep dives. I love it too. I'm glad I found my people, the attachment style nerds. Thank you for being here. Let's talk about how conflict shows up based on your attachment style. So, anxious attachment. We've got over texting, over communicating, protest behaviors for anxious attachment. This idea of, I want you to show up and choose me. I'm going to test you and see if you do the right thing. Why don't you care about me? There can also be chasing that's going on, right? If the partner is shut down or pulling away, we can kind of poke that partner and we'll say just the right thing to get them to re-engage, right? Catastrophizing, worst case scenario, oh, this relationship's over, they're leaving me, they hate me, this is the last time I'm going to see them. I mean, you name it, catastrophizing. So the anxiously attached person with conflict, they're going really heavy into, I want to get this resolved now. I want to fight now. Let's get it all out. And then if the other person is shutting down, they're taking that silence to mean worst case scenario, this relationship's over. They're done with me. I'm being abandoned. And it's so easy to go 0 to 100 real quick, okay? About, man, this relationship is done. What's going on with avoidant attachment with conflict? Ooh, I don't want to talk about this. How many of you've either been this person? I've been both. I've responded avoidantly, and I've also had people do this to me where you go, I don't want to talk about this. Not right now. Now is not the time. Let's not talk about this. I don't have time for this. I have to work. I have a phone call I have to make. Oh, I just forgot. My second cousin is in town and I have to pick them up from the airport. Bye. Right? Like, whatever excuse you can come up with, you don't want to talk about it. So, for the avoidantly attached person, stonewalling, shutting down, they could feel the emotions coming. They don't want to feel the emotion. So, it's whatever they can do to get away from the conflict. Disappearing, another common strategy. So many of you listening, you do this, intellectualizing, just keeping it in your brain, right? Going to the facts of the situation, not acknowledging the emotions. Um, this is classic avoidant attachment in conflict. And you can see how when anxious and avoidant, when they get together and they are in an argument, they are fulfilling each other's worst nightmares about what conflict is. And they are amplifying the stress, the emotional dysregulation. They're confirming each other's narratives about what happens during conflict, right? Anxious, I'm going to be abandoned. The avoidant has to pull away to avoid being present. So, in a sense, they are abandoning the anxious person in that moment. They are feeding each other's unhealthy narratives about what conflict is. Okay. And then let's talk about disorganized attachment, some of the worst conflict you will ever see with couples. And I, you know, I see this professionally. I also occasionally see this in my personal life, but not people who are in my friend group because I think I've really grown and I have different kinds of people who are in my friend group now, which I was thinking about this the other day. It's like I don't have any drama in in the relationships in like my close friend group. It's all like secure couples who talk really positively about their partners. It's really quite fascinating. But, anyways, I'll have like friends of friends or like distant people, okay, who I'm not super, super close to. And I'll hear about what is clearly disorganized conflict, meaning two people with disorganized attachment engaging in conflict. And let me tell you, this is also AKA known as trauma bond. That type of conflict can be so explosive, can be so damaging, because what's happening is when one person goes anxious, the other one goes avoidant. And then when the other one is like coming back and starting to want to have reassurance and maybe they're going anxious, then the other person goes avoidant and they just flip flop back and forth. Neither one moving to secure. And they do that until they're too tired. They're exhausted. They're exhausted, right? And then they can come back to some kind of normalcy, but not ever really talking about the conflict, because it's so painful when we have two people with disorganized attachment and they're in conflict. It can be really, really painful, really dramatic. Do not recommend, right? I have been there myself. I know people who have been there. I have no judgment towards it. But yeah, I heard about it recently, someone that is a distant person in my life, and I just had so much compassion because I know how exhausting it is. I know how exhausting that is. Like, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. It can be really painful. So that's what I wanted to say about that. I know some of you will message me and you say, "Hey, make sure you talk about disorganized attachment." Trust me, I hear you. There's not enough out there talking about that style. So I do what I can to always mention it. And typically what you can do is just look at what avoidant people go through, what anxious people go through, and then know that with disorganized, you're experiencing both of those strategies at the same time and you're pendulum swinging between the two. Let's move on, shall we? What happens in securely attached conflict? What happens? You can stay emotionally regulated. I know that's like so wild when you think about it. And some of you are like, "Okay, sure, sure. It's possible for you, Dr. Morgan, but not for me." I used to think that way too. Like, no, I could never. Yes, you can. When you become securely attached, you can stay emotionally regulated and calm. You speak directly, you speak openly and honestly. And here's a big one: you do not threaten the relationship with secure attachment. We're not threatening the relationship. This is one of my favorite things I wrote down. You assume the best of your partner. You're actually assuming the best. This is something my husband and I do really well. If there's something that's come up, I'm trying to think of something silly that's happened recently. Ugh, I'll just say I sent him to the grocery store. He got everything for dinner, but then he forgot to get my almond milk. Okay, I need almond milk. Let's just say I do use a lot of almond milk. Maybe this actually happened. Who knows? He forgot to get my almond milk. He remembered everything else that was all stuff that he wanted, but he forgot my almond milk. And I could go to him and say, "Wow." And I could say, "You are so selfish. You don't think about me. I directly told you what I wanted, and you still didn't remember. And you always do this. And it's like you just don't care about me." Right? I could say something like that. If I'm securely attached and I am assuming goodwill, I'm going to say something like, "Hey, I'm disappointed. I feel disappointed. I asked you to get me almond milk and you remembered everything on your list and you forgot mine. You forgot to get me the almond milk and I feel disappointed." The story I'm telling myself is that maybe I'm just not that important to you. And I also know you've had a lot on your mind. You had a really busy day. And I think you probably just forgot. But the story that I'm telling myself is that I'm not that important to you. But notice how the secure example, I'm assuming goodwill. I'm assuming he just got busy and he forgot. I'm not assuming that he doesn't want to, you know, be with me or that he doesn't care about me, that I'm not important to him. No, I'm assuming, you know what? He had a busy day. He had a lot on his mind. He just forgot. But I'm also being honest about what came up for me emotionally and the story that I told myself in the moment, right? So, this is an example of what happens in secure conflict. And I want to talk about this. Okay, this is very important. Most people in their conflict, they're not fighting about the almond milk. They're not actually fighting about the dishes, okay? Or, oh my God, you left your socks on the floor in a pile. They're not fighting about that. They are fighting about feeling unsafe. They're fighting about, will you choose me? Will you be here? Can I depend on you? That is the deeper meaning. It is not about the dishes. It is not about the socks. It is not about the almond milk. It is, will you choose me? Will you show up for me? Can I depend on you? That's the deeper layer. Okay. So let's talk about, what do we do? I told you, I am going to give you some actionable things. What do we do? And there's something in my book. If you haven't read my book, by the way, I think you'd really get a lot out of it. If you're a podcast listener and you have not yet gotten the book, I think you'd really like it. It's called Love Magnet. Get off the dating roller coaster and attract the love you deserve. There's a section in there called dialogue, and I teach you the conflict framework, and it's really powerful. So, anyways, grab my book if you haven't yet. I'll put the link in the show notes. Really lovely reviews on Amazon, by the way. If you need to see people's opinions on it, you can go check out the reviews, but we'll put the link in the show notes. Let's learn dialogue. This is your personal, securely attached conflict framework. This is gold. This little part of this podcast could possibly save your marriage or prevent your next breakup. That's how serious I am about this. All right. So take this seriously, take some notes. This is going to be really helpful to you. Here's what I want you to realize. Step one, we need to make sure that we are regulating our emotions. This is even before conflict happens. This is like the foundation of secure attachment. No more outsourcing your self-soothing. You owe it to yourself, you owe it to your partner to learn how to regulate your emotions, how to feel your feelings and process your emotions in a way where it doesn't overwhelm you, where it doesn't lead to a full on spiral or a breakdown or not being able to breathe. And trust me, no judgment. If that's where you are right now, I've been there. I used to get into arguments where I would literally have to sit down on the ground because I thought I might faint because I couldn't breathe while I was having the argument. Like, no judgment. Wherever you are, I get it. I get it. And I want you to know it's really not fair to expect yourself to have conflict with a partner and be able to emotionally regulate if you haven't learned how to do it yourself first. Okay. It's like asking someone who's driven a truck on the gravel road of Montana to then say, okay, today you're an F1 driver and you're going to compete in F1 racing. You know, it's just not fair. It's not fair to throw yourself into conflict with your partner if you haven't learned how to regulate your own emotions first. Okay. You cannot have secure conflict from a dysregulated nervous system. So you have to start working on emotional regulation. And I really truly believe that in order to do that well, there's a lot of things that go into it. Part of it is taking the time to be curious about what works for you. I'm not going to tell you this is how you regulate your emotions because different things for every person. There are a lot of different tools you can try. The important thing, though, I would say even more important than the best tools or three-step process I could teach you, you know what the most important thing is? You care about your emotional experience. You prioritize checking in with yourself. You are flipping the script on where your attention is going instead of being outwardly focused all the time and being reactive and being in survival mode. You are intentionally pausing, you're breathing, and you're checking in with yourself. And you're asking yourself, what am I feeling? What do I need to be better supported? And you are prioritizing that because you know it is a priority. And you're learning how to feel your feelings in a healthy way. Okay. And there's so many things I do throughout the day that helps me with this. One of them is working out. You don't want to be around me if I haven't worked out in like 3 to 4 days. It helps me so much when I'm at the gym. I'm processing so many emotions. Really helpful. Another thing I do is I put my hand over my heart and I practice a mindfulness self compassion meditation throughout the day. I check in with myself. I really do. It's not just something cheesy that I teach you guys. I really actually pause and I check in with myself and I practice self compassion. Okay. So, mindfulness, self compassion, working out, taking a hot bath at the end of the night, a brain dump in my journal at the end of the night, occasionally. I would say maybe once a week, even. I end up feeling like I need that. But I didn't do these things before when I was just so externally focused on everybody else. And that's why I really truly believe the most important thing, change your beliefs around this. You have to realize I am worthy of tuning inwards and I am worthy of feeling my emotions and start prioritizing processing your emotions. Okay? So this was like step 0. You got to start getting good at emotional regulation. But I called it step 1. Step 2, we when we're doing dialogue, we want to do something really important. We want to invite. We want to invite our partner to have a conversation. So there's an invitation, okay? And it can go something like, "Hey, I have something important that I would love to chat with you about. Just checking in with you. Is now a good time?" And they might say, "No, I'm cooking something," or "I'm exhausted, I'm tired." If they say anything that falls within the the framework, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, anything that falls in any of those categories, it's not the right time, okay? So the invitation, and then let's assume it is a good time, right? Then we want to do something called dialogue. And dialogue is a very simple conflict framework. Number 1, you'll have a receiver and you'll have a sender. The sender's job is to express how they feel, speaking from ownership, not from blame, simply stating their experience, their emotional experience, and what happened for them. So let's go through an example of this, and I will tell you what the sender does as well. So for example, the person who, sorry, I'll tell you what the receiver does. The person who is the sender is going to say something like, "I feel disconnected from you and I don't feel heard when I have to repeat myself multiple times about an event we have coming up. So I feel disconnected from you and I don't feel heard when I have to repeat myself multiple times about an event that we have coming up." So if I'm the receiver, I'm the other person in this, my only job as the receiver was to make sure that the sender feels heard. So I'm just going to repeat back, hey, you feel disconnected and you don't feel heard when you have to repeat yourself multiple times about an event that we have coming up. Notice how that was like, boom, spot on. And in dialogue, so you're both emotionally regulated, you're being curious, you're speaking from ownership, right? The goal is to understand one another, right? In the research, we know this to be true. Why do secure couples why do they navigate conflict so well? Because they're curious, because they don't make it about themselves, because they don't make it about them not being good enough or I'm going to be abandoned, right? They are curious and they want to understand their partner. They're not thinking about, oh, well, I'm not good enough or I'm going to be abandoned or this always happens to me. They are so curious about the other person and the other person's experience. Okay. So we had the sender and the receiver. Here's another, this is step number 3. I'm just going to throw in there. Stay on one issue, stay on one topic. And if I was working with you, which, I love working with couples. I have done it actually more recently than I anticipated, but it's been great. And if I'm working with you, I want to make sure that we just do one topic and the sender is going to share their experience until they feel like they're heard. Like, okay, I'm heard and I don't have anything else to say about this. And then what happens? We switch. So then the person who was the sender becomes the receiver and vice versa. And we stay on the one issue. And what happens is when we feel heard, then the emotion can pass. We can feel the emotions. We learn how to feel the emotions in a healthy way. Because I want to throw this out there. You're allowed to be angry. I'm not telling you this framework so that you can't be angry, you can't be upset. I'm telling you this because you get to feel those things and you deserve to be able to present your emotions to your partner in a way that they can hear you, right? If I'm yelling or screaming or if I'm throwing things or whatever is going on, right? It's like I'm not giving my partner the opportunity to hear me. Okay. So secure couples, they are curious. They want to understand what's going on. They stay on one issue. And then remember this. I think this is really important as we're talking about dialogue. We have to assume the best. Assume the best from our partner. There's a reason you're with them, right? Um, we want to say, you know what? I choose this person. You want to protect the connection, protect the marriage if you're married, while still addressing the issue. And I think as you're working through conflict, as you better understand each other, then you will start to learn, okay, how do we also repair? How do we repair quickly? And there's really cool things that I can say about repair. Um, one thing I will say is this: humor can help. Humor can help. I don't have specific examples, but being willing to even make fun of yourself. What did I do the other day? I don't know. I'm always laughing at myself though. I think that's probably one of the the things that I do that helps me the most is just my ability to laugh at myself. Actually, just today, I was laughing so hard at myself that I was crying, and I wish I could tell you guys what it even was. I don't remember, but I was just like in tears laughing at myself, and my husband walked in and he's like, "What is going on?" And I just had to say, "I am so funny. I am so funny." Anyways, humor goes a long way in repair. So that's one point I would give you. Saying something like, "Hey, how do we reset? Can we reset this day? let's not let this conflict or this conversation, this was a challenging conversation. I'm proud of us. I think we showed up as best as we could, considering it's a challenging conversation. And now, how do we reset? How do we get back to having a good day? What do you need from me? What can we do? Be proactive about your repair, right? Transparently, my husband and I, we were having a tough conversation the other day, and it was right before we were going into Costco. One of our favorite things to do, go to Costco together. And we're like sitting in the truck and we're having this tough conversation. And then I was just like, as we're wrapping up, it's like, hey, how can we reset? This is one of our favorite things to do. We get to go to Costco together, right? And it's like, you know what? I just need reassurance. And sometimes repair means, hey, I need to know that next Wednesday at 5 p.m., we're going to check in about this again, right? So sometimes repair is action items. It's like for me to actually repair the connection, I need to know that, hey, we're going to keep talking about this or we're going to continue to work on it. We are going to figure it out together. So sometimes repair might involve reassurance. Also, touch is helpful. A hug. A hug is so good. Like, if you can get to that place, sometimes you can't, but after a tough conversation, if you can get to the place where you have a hug, that's so, so powerful, right? We want to prioritize repair over being right. And one thing I would say that I have learned too about secure conflict, it's really powerful when you can acknowledge when you're wrong. I'm the first to acknowledge, like, wow, I made a bigger deal out of that than I should have. Or, wow, I went from 0 to 100 because I was so hungry and that was wrong of me. And are any of you like that? Like, I get hangry. I'm working on it. Uh, that's a whole other conversation. But I think with like PCOS and insulin resistance, if I have like a blood sugar drop, oof, no bueno, right? So I'm the first to acknowledge my role in it and apologize if I'm wrong. That's all part of repair. And I think the longer you're with someone, the more it will become clear what the both of you need for repair. And in the beginning, you're just going to have to be curious about what does that look like, right? So I see this with my clients all the time. It's like clients who used to stay silent about things, who would let resentment build up. Once they are becoming securely attached, once they learn the dialogue framework, right? Stuff that they used to completely keep to themselves, they are now standing up for themselves. They're speaking openly, honestly, directly to their partners. They're staying emotionally regulated. They're realizing the world does not fall apart after conflict. And they are completely rewiring their brains around, oh, having conflict in a relationship is normal. And it doesn't mean abandonment. It actually can mean intimacy. Because on the other side of healthy conflict, on the other side, when you're repairing, it reinforces, oh, we can get through anything. We are a strong couple. We can get through anything. We can have hard conversations and it makes us a better couple on the other side. What if that became your belief about relationships? Every hard conversation we have is an opportunity for us to grow together. Every tough conversation is an opportunity for me to understand my partner more deeply, right? It's all about what are the beliefs that you're forming around conflict? What's the story you're telling yourself? And I love, love, love when clients will come to me and say, wow, I didn't die. Like I used to think that the world was ending, I was going to be abandoned. And I'm realizing now conflict isn't scary. Conflict isn't scary, right? It actually just means being closer to your partner. So this is an identity shift. This is about becoming securely attached. Who is the securely attached you? The securely attached you is not begging to be understood. They are communicating clearly because they know they're worthy of taking up space. They're worthy of being understood by their partner. And they know that they want to be in the kind of relationship where you can have conflict and you can navigate it in a healthy way and you can get through the other side and be a stronger couple. It's about raising the standards, right, for what kind of relationship you want to be in. And ultimately, you realize that you're no longer fighting, you're no longer in survival mode. That was me in the past. It just felt like survival mode. Like, oh, these horrible arguments. And then you feel like, you feel like you like got hit by a car for like 3 days, then you recover, and then you're just bracing yourself for the next one. And you kind of have PTSD, right? And it can feel like survival mode. And then you're easily triggered by anything in the future because you don't want to go through that again, right? It's pure survival mode. When you're in a secure relationship, you are talking. You are talking, you're having a discussion. And it's about connection and it's about understanding your partner more deeply. All right. And what greater opportunity do we have, right, with our partners to really understand them and know what their needs are and make sure that they feel seen and heard and understood and know that we deserve that in return, right? I want to remind us of a couple things. Okay, I have some reminders written down. If you cannot fight well, you can't love well. It is always going to be part of the relationship. People who say they don't fight, it's that, okay, they still have conflict. They're just not labeling it as fighting. They're just labeling it as conversations, right? There's no way that you're never going to agree on everything. You would have to be the same exact person, right? It's like, okay, you're going to have conflicts. So if you can't fight well, you can't love well. The second thing, secure people in secure relationships, we do not threaten the relationship. We protect the relationship. We know that, oh, well, maybe we should just not be together or using the D word, the divorce word, right? We know that that's actually just protest behavior, that that's just an indirect way to try to get reassurance, right? So we don't threaten the relationship during conflict. We know that that's not healthy for the relationship. We know that the goal of conflict is about staying connected. How can we protect this precious thing that we have that is our relationship? How do we stay connected and make sure that each one of us feels heard? It's not about winning, right? It's not about being right. It's about what is the right thing for the connection, for the relationship. Dysregulated people, they are trying to be right. They're trying to survive. Securely attached people are trying to understand one another. Okay. And conflict is simply intimacy in disguise. You can't have the closeness and the deep connection and secure attachment that cannot exist without conflict. All right. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Once again, this is content that I wish I had had about, I don't know, 15 years ago. So I hope this is helpful to you. If you have anyone in your life who's kind of going through it and needs to hear this, please send them this episode. Help me help as many people as possible. Also, grab the book. I'm going to put that in the show notes. And then if you are more of an audio person, I want you to know about the Secure Soft Magnetic private podcast. I also have that available because I don't have the audiobook version of my book yet. I'm sorry. I know you all have asked me for it. But I do have the Secure Soft Magnetic. It's a mini audio course, and it's a really, really great step for rewiring your brain, going deeper into the attachment styles, and then rewiring your brain to help you embody secure attachment so that you're showing up secure, right? Because we all know what we're supposed to do. Like, we have it in our brains. I know if you're listening to this, if you've, been a fan of the show, you're smart. You probably intellectualize a lot. You know what you should be doing, but we actually have to help your body, your nervous system, your attachment system fully shift into secure attachment. And that's what the secure, soft, magnetic audio course helps you do. It's a wonderful first step. It's only $27. I would highly recommend you grab it. So I'll put the book in the show notes and the link to the audio course if you're wanting to go deeper after this episode. I want you to know I'm so proud of you for being here. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Get Vulnerable. We have so many amazing things coming. I have a really special episode coming up for you soon. I cannot wait for you to hear it. It's a really wonderful interview. And I've just got so many good things planned for the show. I'm really, really excited about 2026. I am sending you so much love, of course. And as always, I'm wishing you high self worth and great relationships. I'll talk to you soon.